All right. Hi, everybody. This is Megan from Mint Lashes and Mint Beauty Pro. Today, I have something that I've been talking about for a really long time, trying to get this out. And I'm here today with Chris, and he is from Ives Insurance. Do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, Chris, and about your company?
Yeah, awesome. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on here. With the pandemic, we've been able to get out our message and our product to a lot of people like yourself, and it's really great to be able to organize these experiences and can allow to make insurance kind of let us of a stickler with paperwork and emails and get like a face to it with that. So yeah, a bit about myself. So I'm a commercial insurance broker located here in Ontario. We are a national brokerage. We have Ives Insurance, which I'm a part of. We have about a dozen offices around southwestern Ontario. And I've been in a commercial insurance broker for 8 years now. And I've always specialized in the health and wellness space and beauty. So I've done massage therapists, yoga, and then in the last about 24 months, we've really taken an interest to the beauty space. And the reason being is what we do is we take a segment such as beauty, eyelash extensions, and we really dial into it and make it affordable, easy to purchase, and powerful. So by specializing it, we're really able to give lots of value to your clients.
That's really important too, because I find that it's hard to find something that is specific to eyelashes. I remember looking at the very beginning and it was so hard to find something, and that's a common complaint. And I don't have insurance because I can't really find any insurance just for lash techs, where it's like you need it, right? So can you tell us a little bit about why the insurance is so important to our industry from your perspective?
Yeah, well, insurance is important because those accidents do happen, whether it's a slip and fall. We get more into the types of coverages. But yeah, if someone's hurt, they can easily file a lawsuit, and you need protection from that. So to protect you as the eyelash technician. So yeah, we're able to provide that level of protection. But if accidents do happen, it should be an insurance company paying that claim. Like a car accident, the insurance company pays for your car. Our insurance will pay for the lawsuit and the damages that the judge awards. So if you need rehab or a surgery or something that's not covered by any kind of provincial funding, we will be able to look after that. We do cover things as well, like emotional damage. It depends on the severity of the claim.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. And as most of us know, when we teach in our really comprehensive beginners courses, our fundamentals courses, anything can happen. And it's so much better to have somebody on your side helping you through that, instead of you paying out of pocket for, say, missed work time, or like you said, even emotional damages or whatever it might be. So for the beauty industry specifically, who do you think needs insurance?
Yeah, I really do find that it's everybody. There's really no one that I have come across where I'm like, well, you don't really need insurance. And it's all on different levels to that. There's different levels of insurance. Do I think every insurance person needs a cyber policy defending against hackers? No. And there's different limits and deductibles that we can talk about. But the most, people say to me the most common, when do I need insurance, is, well, I'm just practicing on my friends and family, so they're not going to sue me. But if you hurt them by accident, you don't want to. What's going to happen, right? Whose fault is it? Are you sure that they're not going to file a lawsuit against you? I'm working on my house insurance. Well, no, house insurance policies don't cover commercial operations. So yeah, there's really no one yet that I found where I'm saying, oh no, you don't need insurance. Do I think everyone needs a $10 million liability insurance policy? You're working part-time, that's something we can talk about. But yeah, it's definitely trying to get a great product and an affordable price to provide a comfortable level of protection.
Mm-hmm. That's so important too. And like you said, there are some people that are just working a few days a week or part-time or on a few people, but again, anything can happen, right? And you want to cover yourself and make them feel comfortable too, right? I do find a lot of people specifically look for a beauty service provider that is insured, right? It gives them that peace of mind as well. So this is a good question because a lot of people, especially with eyelashes, just specifically talking about that, with people with eyelashes, a lot of them work from home, whether their salon is up to code with the city and health codes and all that. But regardless, the people, I feel, I get the question a lot that they work in their home. Do they need to be insured? Yes, you should be insured. Now, are you automatically covered if you work in a salon as an employee or independent contractor? That would be the second question that I get the most, right? Like, are you covered if you work for another company?
Awesome. Yeah. So there's kind of two parts of it. The first thing, if you're home insurance, that one is truthfully the most important part to get insurance, because your homeowner's insurance policy will not cover you if someone slips and falls. Slip and fall is a classic example, but it also does occur the most. So if someone's walking up your steps and they slip, or if you're in an apartment building and they fall in the elevator, or my favorite one is they tripped over someone else's shoes, and they sued the person because they didn't have enough shoe racks. So those are all accidents that can happen, and we are responsible, and we will look after those kind of claims. And then that's what we call commercial general liability, which we provide. And then we also provide, if you're working in someone's salon, are you covered is a great question, and it's interesting because you could be covered, but you don't know how much insurance your salon owner has. If there's a claim, you can't call up their adjuster and say, hey, listen, the plaintiff has dropped off this new part of the lawsuit. No, that's the salon owners. You need your own insurance. Is there enough insurance? Do they buy like a super low limit so you don't have anything left over for yourself? Did they renew it every year? Did they cancel it? Did they take your service off? These are all things that you don't really know unless you keep a copy of, unless you're being advised that they're changed all the time, which no one really is. So, our policy is super affordable. It's $31 a month, and allows you to get, that peace of mind outside of it. So you don't have to worry about those kind of situations.
Mm-hmm. And I do find too, like, it really is the responsibility of the beauty service provider or the lash technician to check into those things, right? You never know unless you know exactly who you're working for. It's always best to just make sure, like, do you have an insurance policy? How much am I covered for? Am I covered in this service list? Because some places maybe just getting eyelash services or waxing services or whatever, like that might not be covered in their policy, right? Because I do know that they change, but we will get kind of into that in the next question. But for basic insurance, like, what does that look like? So say if it was just me and I'm working from a home or from a shop or wherever, and I'm just doing lash extensions, what would a basic coverage look like?
Awesome. Yeah. So it's $31 per month total. That's kind of like the clarion number, because everyone wants to know, like, well, the base premium plus. No, it's $31 a month, equal payments. And what that is, it gets you $2 million of liability coverage. So like I said, the commercial general liability. So if someone slips and falls, the table breaks, they're going to the washroom, they pass out afterwards, any kind of thing that happens in that nature, like if that's an accident, not actually connected with the professional service of eyelash extensions, that's that part of the policy. And then the other is professional liability insurance. So, the most classic example, which rarely happens, is if someone gets poked in the eye and has optic damage because of, they forget to tell you to sneeze, you sneeze, you slip, things can happen. So we are able to provide coverage for those kind of accidents as well. More common ones are the people having an allergic reaction to some of the product, and they have some kind of they get nervous and they sue them because they think they're blind. That's usually the most common one. Or you get a bad product, and you infect a few people because of that. But there's always concerns about pink eye or tools not being cleaned. That's we can cover a lawsuit that would come from that.
Okay. And I think that too, right? Like that, I feel like having that insurance behind you kind of gives you that extra sort of support to, like you said, like tools being cleaned, or, a lot of lash artists will say that they can't have children in the service room because their insurance won't cover it, or they have to do a patch test because their insurance requires it. So I do know in some insurance companies or some policies, like you need to follow specific rules that really do help you. And again, for a lash tech, being like, I'm sorry, like I would love for you to have little Billy sit there on his iPad, but you know, we've got fumes, we've got sharp tools. My insurance is null and void if a child is in the room or what have you. So I feel like that's a little perk maybe to kind of help the lash artist also feel confident in what they're doing and not just for the client as well, right? So
And yeah, yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. So about the you know, those subjectivities, well, there are a lot of them, and it's also, it depends on the insurance company. Like some do patch tests. We only ask that you just have waivers signed, and we keep the waivers, and we kind of wonder about minors. Those are our big kind of concerns. But yeah, there's also two things just to mitigate risk, like you said. There's you know, making sure that you're you know, you're providing pre and post care instructions, your loan, all that kind of stuff. Really make sure that it just reduces the risk of a claim.
Mm-hmm. And that's important too, right? Like it's a responsibility on our end to keep up our end of it, and just make sure that we're going through those processes. Again, what we teach in our courses it's really, really thorough. And I know not every single lash course is like that, but we teach that stuff in our course, right? Like you need to be talking to them, you need to give a consult, you need to update their waivers. Do not even like look at somebody unless their waiver is signed. Like, it's going to protect you, it's going to protect them, and you just don't want it coming back to you if you're not doing it properly, right? So that's good to know that there's those like with your company, because I know all the companies are a little bit different, but ensuring that waivers are signed, I think that's a really amazing like specific item in there. So what kinds of services are covered? So if I was just an eyelash extension artist and I decided I wanted to start waxing or do like polish manicures, are there tons of services included in that, or is it kind of like just lashes and then you have to add something for nails or waxing? Because I know like the aesthetic, medical aesthetics is a little bit different, right? So like hair removal, lip blushing, any kind of tattooing, anything like that.
Yeah, we have bands for them, and you know, there's band one, which is eyelash extension. So we usually see people start with eyelash extensions. They might do brow tinting, brow lamination, waxing, manicures, pedicures, facials. That's all in there, and there's no additional premium to add those services. You know, you just let me know, and I just email the insurance company, and then if you happen to get sued for waxing, we'll have defense costs for those as well. So that's $31 per month. Then we go into the more advanced, or our band two. Those include microneedling, dermaplaning. We've got permanent like I said, microblading, body contouring. Those are the kind of ones that we charge the next level for, and that's $51 per month. And then, yeah, when you go to the top level, you've got permanent makeup with like a tattoo gun, Botox injectors, all that. Those are and that's around $80 per month. And then, you know, we can go up to the laser hair removal, which is around $100 a month, plus the machine. You know, those machines are almost more expensive than cars sometimes. So yeah, that can go up to the hundreds of dollars per month kind of rate that way.
Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, that's kind of how I looked at it was, you know, the more in depth in the body, the more kind of invasive treatments you're doing, the more coverage you're going to need, because, you know, if you're, like you said, like tattoo makeup or anything like that, like you need to be covered for that. You're opening the skin up. Whereas lash extensions, we're not puncturing the skin or anything like that. So hopefully we're not.
No.
But no, it's good to know, because I know most people start with lashes, lash lifts, tinting, like you said, waxing, nails, and then they progressively move up. But it's important to remember that, to keep your insurance policy updated and add to it as you go, right? Like it's not just one umbrella and everything is covered under it. So I think that's a good question that I hear a lot too, right? Like if I want to get into this or that, like, well, it's always good to double check, right? So I think we kind of already touched on this one for lash services, which is the best recommendation for insurance. And you were mentioning the $31 policy that you have that includes the waxing and the tinting and the lashes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like our most common policy, and like it's extremely, so kind of back to the beginning. You know, we built this insurance product for the beauty industry. So you know, we made sure product liability was included, because everyone uses products. It's not like massage where your hand is the product. We built that in there. We made sure, mental anguish, because it's a emotional experience when you look at yourself in the mirror. So we made sure that was covered. So we kind of put all of these together. We made them in bands. So every time you add a service, you don't have to add more premium to it, or you take it off and all that stuff. So yeah, it's built explicitly for this this segment of professionals.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And again, it's so important that people know that they're covered for specific services, and they can kind of work within that realm, right? And stay in contact and make sure that they're keeping you up to date. So how easy, like personally, so my story, I had my own personal insurance. I was working in a salon. She's like, oh, no, you don't need your insurance. Like, I've got you covered. I'm like, I'm just going to keep my insurance just in case, because I was the only lash artist in there. And then I started kind of like getting out of it a bit. And then in, I think it was March or April last year, or this year, I guess, I canceled my insurance because I wasn't working. And then the pandemic hit and we were all kind of not working anyway. So I got in right before everything shut down. But how easy is it for people to change or cancel their policies with you? Because I know that it was pretty easy for me, but I know all insurance companies are pretty different, right?
Yeah, so great question. So we'll kind of start from the beginning to the end. So to purchase insurance, it's extremely easy. We can do it in about 1 or 2 business days. We have actually like some steps involved. So people can ask questions, making sure everything's right. So to kind of start, you can do it in about 1 or 2 business days. It's you get one document, you sign it, and you're off. But let's say you want to add microblading midterm, so you're going from $31 to $51 per year. Once again, super easy. You just email us. We don't even need a signature. We just increase your premium by the rated amount. So if you're doing it half through the year, we only charge you an extra $5 per month or 10. And then, so that's easy to do. To cancel insurance is a little bit more difficult because these are 12-month contracts. So we have to look on a case-by-case basis. COVID is being a great example. The court system didn't turn off. So people still got treatments in March, and then lawsuits were still being filed in April. And people also have 2 years to file a claim. So if you cancel your insurance and there's a claim waiting to be delivered a year after the service is done, you need to have some kind of insurance in place that way. So we really discouraged canceling policies. Actually, you know what? It was most people who did cancel because of COVID. They were convinced that they weren't going back to work till April. Then they called me, 3 or 4 weeks later and said, you know what? We're in phase 2 or whatever it may be. So yeah, we tried to discourage people not to. We've done a great job at renewal time, reducing premiums, extending financing contracts, all of that stuff to really help, because like I said, but lawsuits can still happen and you don't want to have no insurance just in case, right? You don't know what is in the wind out there. And then kind of at the end of a cycle of a 12-month policy year is the renewal. So 6 weeks out, we email yourself and say, do you know any claims? Have you added any services? Or are you moving, adding locations, whatever it may be? You just click a button, yes, no. If yes, you've added a service, we go through that. No, it's just a simple, no, okay, here's a fresh, please re-sign your application, and the financing contracts were fresh. And that's kind of the whole process of purchasing, renewing, changing, or like you call it, endorsing. There's your insurance term of the day. And then we have the midterm cancellations as well.
And I think it's great because I don't think everybody knows how easy it is to do. Like, I actually found your company by going and searching for a new insurance policy for myself, getting back into everything after we all opened up again. And honestly, like, I did a couple of click throughs, like the questionnaire, and then I was put in touch with you, and like, it's so easy to get. And I think that's another really important thing for people to understand, just kind of like getting rid of all of these excuses not to get it. Like, not only do you need it, but it is so simple to get. It's super easy to renew. And you're covered in case of anything that happens to the client, or like you were talking about, for your product or anything like that, right? So and I'm very passionate about insurance. I know we emailed back and forth, and I said this is something that I'm really like, I've always found important. So hopefully other people out there are as interested in it as I am. So my next question, you kind of covered it a little bit, but what kind of situations like the pandemic would insurance cover? So something that is completely out of everybody's hands. I know that's kind of a touchy subject because a lot of people were not able to get out of their policies because of COVID. And so how would that work for your company?
Yeah, so we'll kind of break it down to like the very trendy pandemic conversation. There's also like things that insurance doesn't cover as well. So kind of talk about what it does. We talk about some claims examples. So yeah, with COVID right now, unfortunately, we've seen a lot of more exclusions added to insurance policies. We have what we call communicable disease endorsements, which means that no pandemic in the future will ever be covered. Now that's, people look at that and they go, ugh, I'm never going to be covered for COVID. But there hasn't been a ton of claims, like people actually getting sick and suing because of COVID. The nightmare scenario is, or one of the worst scenarios is you're self-isolate for 2 weeks. So if 2 weeks, a lawsuit for 2 weeks of income is going to be almost, that's going to be quite a bit of money, and especially with CERB being available. So there was not a lot of claims for lawsuits because of COVID, people getting sick. Remember, these are liability policies, so they're designed for lawsuits. And so that's kind of unfortunately where we are with it. Like, insurance companies never included pandemic coverage, and they did some excluding, but now it's been very excluded. And the next, there's in the future, there will be more exclusions put towards it. That being said, there are things that are covered in that kind of sense. Like we do have, if someone, like I said, if someone gets pink eye because you don't clean your tools, we'll have that, we'll have coverage for that available to people. Things also insurance doesn't cover. We don't have coverage for sexual abuse. So, if one-on-one in a room, if someone accuses you of sexually abusing somebody, that's on your own. We always, that's more criminal, and we don't really cover any kind of criminal acts that way. You can't use it to sue your landlord or sue a business partner. It's for defense costs, not for attacking people. But those are kind of the things that insurance isn't for. And also, this is just the $31 is just a liability policy. So the reason being is a lot of these eyelash extension, you don't have a lot of equipment, and the deductibles are usually $1,000. So if you have less, even if you have less than $1,000 of contents coverage, well then there's nothing you can do. And then you look at premium on top of that, and what would your insurance rate go to? You'd have to have several thousands of dollars of contents coverage to really justify having a limit assigned to defending you from fire or theft. But liability is your biggest risk. Like I said, we said $2 million limit, so we know we can go to full policy limits that way. But yeah, that's kind of the things people don't tell you that we don't cover you for.
Okay. And I think it's really important to kind of, like you said, say what you do cover and what you don't. I heard a lot of questions. I was kind of scouring for questions in the Lash groups, and one of the questions that was really prominent was, my Lash insurance will not pay me because I lost my job due to the pandemic. And I think that's different. That's you have to pay yourself as an independent, self-employed person to get a different kind of insurance, whether it's your health insurance or your work insurance or something that's going to cover you, right? Whereas this is just to cover the services and to protect your client and to protect you as well, right? But not in the terms of nobody's working for 4 months, they need to be paying me out money, right?
Yeah. And that's why, back kind of on the pandemic, that's why the government did so much. Because if you ask the insurance companies to pay for every single, let's just do salons, every single salons, they'd be bankrupt, or their rates would be astronomical like for the next year, right? Like they could pay it out, but we lay off a bunch of insurance people and your rates would go from $31 to $300 for insurance. Just to recoup that income back. So that's the per month. So that's why the government did step up and keep the economy going that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good to get that differential or that to differentiate which is which, right? So, and as especially as like a self-employed beauty service provider, you do need to get a few different types of coverage for yourself in these cases, whether or not they cover something like the pandemic, or you injure yourself and you're off work. Like, that's a totally different thing, but this insurance is specifically for the services, product, etc. So is there a difference in insurance for a mobile lash tech, or somebody that works in like a salon or a home salon? Is the insurance different, or is there a difference at all?
Yeah, so our specific policy is 100% mobile nationwide. So if you go to someone's house, someone comes to your house, you go do 1 day a week at a salon, you get hired to do a bridal party, that's fine. We consider it like a backpack. So by all means, go to other places. If you get sued for working there, insurance says territory of coverage is nationwide. So that's kind of how insurance goes. For our product. And then what else? And then that's kind of and then if you do work in a salon, or if you have equipment, then it can become more permanent and fixed on location.
Okay, that's good to know, because I know some people that exclusively do mobile, and that's really important to have insurance as well. And then just a little quick question. So if I was a mobile lash tech and I was going into somebody else's home and I tripped and fell, is anything about my insurance policy going to help me, or would that be on the homeowner, the client that I'm going to?
Yeah, so there we won't be able to provide anything because you can't use insurance onto yourself.
Okay.
But that we kind of talked about disability. Like, it's very important for disability insurance for the entire beauty space. If you get in a car accident and you don't have proper accident benefits on your car insurance and your hands are crushed, what are you going to do for work? And that's like, that kind of insurance can be $17 a month for disability insurance. So yeah, that's extremely important to look into. There's a whole, I don't sell any of that kind of insurance, but it's very important to consider disability insurance, critical illness insurance, any of that. So, sorry. I'll apologize. There we go.
So that would just be something else, again, when you're thinking about doing mobile or even just your car insurance, is just taking into consideration possibilities for the future. If your hands are your best asset, you need to protect them, right? And $17 a month, to make sure that you are taken care of if anything were to happen and you weren't able to work. So that's really
Correct,
good to know. So what is the most common claim for an eyelash tech?
Yeah, it's the most common, because a lot of them are working in their house. The most common one is a slip and a fall. During the winter times, someone slipped in my apartment or on the stairs or in my driveway. That's the most important thing to consider. That's the general liability. The amazing thing too is that I didn't realize when I started doing this kind of insurance, 5 years ago now, is that, I think putting tweezers by someone's eye is a very dangerous, thing, or microblading, which is tattooing right by your eyeball and your brain. So, but it's actually, because the training is so, is very established in Canada, we don't have a lot of those kind of claims. Most of it will just be reactions to your product. So the glue causes someone to have to get a reaction, and they might sue you because they are out of work or something along those lines of that nature.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And again, like, most of the people in the beauty industry watching this will know that not every single training program is the same. There are a lot of people that just get that training out as quick as possible. So obviously, in ties with protecting yourself with insurance, like making sure that you're going to the right person to train you so that you don't have to get claims filed against you in the future, right? So it's a big investment, but we definitely don't want to see the negative effects of tattooing somebody the wrong way or injuring them or what have you. So what happens, or how does a claim work? So if somebody puts a claim in, they would come complain to me, or would they come and talk to you? How would that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I always tell people, if there's an accident, call 911 first and then call me second. And people usually remember that tagline, because, you have up to 2 years to file a claim in Canada. So, and there's lots that can happen between now when the claims file. It's not like someone, let's say you do hurt someone, like you poke someone in the eye, they're not going to, they might, oh, my eye, go to the hospital. They're not going to walk to a law office, do up a lawsuit the next day, and then drop it off, on a week later. It takes time to put together. I've seen claims where people wait a whole year and collecting all the things that they can't do just to prove that how bad the damage was. So yeah, tell people to, I tell people if there's, get medical assistance, get that first, get the person looked after, and then call me. Things we look at to do are, we do what we call a pre-claim. So we collect the waiver. We collect the pre and post care that you did at the time. We get the appointment notes. We make sure we get all our evidence, because they could show up and say, well, I never signed the waiver. I didn't really follow the post care because I don't think I got some. I can assure you my appointment was on a day that it was raining, because I slipped and fell, that kind of situation. So we have our defense is rock solid, so that we can give that to the adjuster, which will be your adjuster, which is a lawyer, and they start collecting their evidence. So when it goes to the courts or mediation or whatever it may be, we have our side of the story.
Okay, and so protecting eyelash technicians. So say I do a client, there's no complaints, nothing whatsoever. A year later, she comes back and says, hey, guess what? Last year I had a reaction and I couldn't go to work and but they didn't go to see a doctor. They didn't let me know. They didn't do anything to protect themselves in any way. They just come back to me a year later and say, I would like to sue you now because my eyes got puffy last year. What would that be like? Is there anything there, or are we okay?
Yeah, so we'd have coverage. That wouldn't go very far. So we've seen a lot of our claims are actually done by not eyelash technicians, but people trying to commit insurance fraud. So they'll do things to say they got hurt and then sue you for it. So for example, they will, know that they're allergic to a product, and they'll get eyelashes done anyways, even though they know it's going to cause a reaction.
Million times.
And they'll, yeah. And then what they'll do is, but they'll be very dodgy about it. So, and I always tell people, just go with your gut. It's not worth the service. To kind of go off on a tangent, I promise I'll come back to it. But dealing with a claim is a very emotional experience. Nothing is worse than getting a nice thick legal document dropped off at your house saying all the things that you failed to do. And then all of a sudden you think, oh my goodness, like, do I have coverage for this? Did I do anything wrong? The lawsuits are not nice. They make you sound like a unskilled professional. So what they do is those kind of people who are going to cause a claim, they're going to show up on Friday. They're going to be a last minute appointment. They're not going to want to sign the waiver. They're going to try to forget to leave the post care in at your house. You'll never hear from them again. So, all these things are kind of like, oh, I'm excited for a new client. Maybe it's because eyelashes are a renewable kind of service. You have to get them refilled. So, but yeah, it's trust me, it's not worth it. The deductible on our policy is $250. I can guarantee you're not making $250 off this service. So, it's not worth the deductible alone. Plus, then you have to now deal with the emotion, but the time. Like, you have to talk to the adjuster. You have to call me. You have to, if the claim's not going the way you want it to, you've got to follow up with me. It's just so much paperwork that's got to get done. So yeah, always take a second, think, something seems fishy here. I really want the profit margin from this service and maybe the repeat business, but I can guarantee you it's not worth it.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a really good point to make too, because we do talk about that. It's better to protect yourself and your business rather than just take anybody that walks through the door. And we always say again, don't even look at them unless their waiver is signed. Don't put a hand on them. Like, you just want to make sure that waiver is signed, that you get consent, and then also verbal consent before you actually begin a service. And because it's really important. And luckily for me, I've never had anybody try to do anything like that. But again, in these Lash forums, you hear all sorts of horror stories of this happening. So waivers, ladies, like, this is, we teach it, we drill it into you in your course just to make sure you get that right. Because again, you want to protect yourself too, as well as your clients.
And And waivers won't stop. Like there's no legal mechanism in Canada that stops you from getting sued. Like
Mm-hmm.
think about how many times a day we hit accept terms and conditions. And we still, if we were hurt, like I can tell you for a fact, we accepted terms and conditions for Uber, but if we got in a car accident, we are still going to sue Uber. I know we hit that accept. It's the same thing as a waiver. But it does make a claim go so much easier. And then, things about waivers, making sure that they initial each page, make sure they have the time to read it. They don't just, here you go, you're 2 minutes late for your appointment. I got another one booked, so just sign this at the end kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, make sure that they have it ahead of them. Make sure they initial maybe the post care. And there's people too that if you start asking them to do these things like, hey, I'm just gonna, take a picture of you signing this waiver and and email it to myself. Oh well, they'll get really, you get a bad vibe right away, and they will walk out of the appointment. I guarantee you, because they are not there for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm. And I think that too, it's important for especially new lash artists to just have that confidence in your business and say, I'm not comfortable taking you if you're not gonna sign these conditions and basically follow the rules of my salon. I don't really feel comfortable with you as a client, right? And again, protecting yourself. So that's good to know. And we've got one last question. So how do you mitigate claims?
Yeah, so kind of like just in summary of all the things we kind of talked about, right? So first, talk about making sure waivers are signed. Respecting your business is awesome. Making sure that you do have the pre and proper post-care instructions. Go after, there's only so many hours a day that you can perform services. So go to the right client base and charge and work accordingly. There's to making sure that you're getting the right people. Talk to your insurance broker to make sure you know what you're covered for, what you're not covered for. If someone will say, hey, I work in a basement apartment, I talk about higher limits because slip and falls could happen going down the stairs. So that's the kind of stuff that you can really do to look after your claims. And like I said, just talk to your insurance broker. I'm on Instagram. I do lots of business through DMs, which is people always find shocking. But yeah, like you're on social media anyways, pop over to your insurance broker, say, hey, just curious about this. That's the kind of situation you want to kind of find yourself in, and make sure you have a conversation with your insurance broker. We purposely break down our sales process so that you have to talk to me at some point. So kind of where you're at with your relationships. You're not scared to call me. You're not calling a call center. Like, this is my office. That's my family behind me. Like, so we're all, you kind of know us, because it'll be easier to work through a claim that way.
And I think that's such a good point to make too, right? It's not just an automated switchboard. Just anybody is picking up a phone, beep, beep, boop into a computer. Like, you're a client, you're speaking to a real person, and, our businesses are important. And that's why there's such personal coverage and stuff from you guys as well.
And make sure you have an insurance company that knows what the services are. There's lots of insurance, there's lots of insurance companies out there. There's over 100 in Canada. Most you haven't heard of because they don't do home and auto. But yeah, if this underwriter or insurance coverage or adjuster has no idea what is required for an eyelash extension lawsuit, it's going to be a nightmare for you. They're going to have to outsource the adjusting. The wording isn't going to be exactly what you needed. The underwriter is going to be, trying to get out of it because they didn't realize what it was. They were trying to specialize in hairstylists, and you did hairstyling and you did eyelash extension, so they kind of just jammed it into the product. It's not going to go well if there's a claim. So make sure you have people who understand those services.
Perfect. All right. So I did ask a few, or I asked on my Instagram to see if anybody had any extra questions. So I'm just going to double check and see. I'm not sure if we do have any questions. Okay. So actually, one of my students, she commented, she said, can you get beauty insurance through your home insurance?
So you can, and this is a really good question. So not all home insurance companies, most, and as a matter of fact, do not do beauty services. Some of them will be concerned that you're doing a business out of your house. So because they're worried about people slipping and falling and they're going to get drawn into a lawsuit, or, do you have more equipment? Is there more chance of fire, or whatever it may be? So my advice to people is always get commercial insurance first, and then tell your home insurance provider that you're doing a business out of your house. Insurance companies need to know that you're operating a business out of your house, because houses are rated for houses, not for small salons. So yeah, and then it makes a house underwriter so happy when you show up with a nice big policy with lots of coverages and say, hey, listen, I've already got protection for my business. I just want you to know, because if there's a fire and you show up and say, you didn't tell me you had a salon in your basement, we're going to deny a claim, because you're supposed to tell us there's a change. So yeah, they're going to be separate though. You don't, like, they're not even designed, like, house insurance is designed for a friend and family slipping and falling and suing you. That's super rare. Outside of pandemic, houses are usually unoccupied. So, businesses are occupied during the day. But yeah, that's kind of what we recommend. Commercial insurance first, and then tell your home insurance company. I get this about once a week. Someone calls me and says, my home insurance is being canceled because I put a business in it. I told them first, and they're now canceling me because I don't have commercial insurance. Can you help me out? So we're able to scramble and get that done.
Perfect. Well, I feel like I know so much more about insurance than I did when we started. And I will tell you, I've done a lot of research on it, and I felt like I knew a lot going into this. So thank you so much for your time. I know it was a bit tricky to finally make it happen, but this is going to be available to see on probably our on our YouTube and our Facebook. Again, this is Chris Stark, and he's with Ives Insurance. So if you want to let us know where we can get a hold of you, the website, and then if you, like you said, you're on Instagram. Lash industry is a big Instagram fan, so you'll probably get an influx of ladies coming into you from Instagram.
Yeah, awesome. So check out my Instagram. That's honestly the best way to get a hold of me. It's beauty.insurance.broker, or just type in beauty broker. I can guarantee you I'm the only beauty broker you'll find on your search thing. So yeah, I've got 1,200 followers, which I think is always exciting to tell people about. But yeah, check me out there. Beauty-insurance.com is my email. Sorry, is my website. I've got chat. You can text me. I've got so many features there. Email accounts, after hours. That's kind of the best way to get a hold of me. And yeah, we can definitely get you an express application. It takes 4 minutes. It gets you the $31 price, and we'll be able to get you protection extremely quickly.
Perfect. And again, I can speak from experience that click-through survey that you do at the beginning from the website, super easy. And then I think I was in touch with you within a day or so. So it's definitely easy. And anybody that's touching another person that as a client with a beauty service, you need to be covered. So hopefully this was as informative for everybody else as it was for me. Again, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate your time, and we will chat again soon. I know I'm going to be probably asking you a couple more questions about my own personal insurance. So thank you very much, Chris.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you for your time today, guys.
Bye.